Ladies and gentlemen, no begging, no chasing, no texting, no games, just do that. We live in a world brimming with distractions, expectations, and unspoken rules that complicate how we interact and express ourselves. Today, I want to talk about living with clarity, intention, and courage. 4 simple phrases: no begging, no chasing, no texting, no games, capture the essence of authenticity and self-respect. No begging. We don't beg for what is meant for us. No chasing. Chasing after things, relationships, opportunities, or recognition is exhausting. No texting. This isn't just about phones, it's about clarity. No games. Life isn't a strategy game. Just do that. If you truly honor these principles, stop begging, chasing, texting endlessly, and playing games. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. Many people equate it with weakness, seeing it as a crack in the armor we wear to protect ourselves from life's challenges. But what if vulnerability isn't a flaw or a weakness? What if it's actually the most profound expression of strength and courage we can offer the world? When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we are choosing to show up and be seen exactly as we are, flaws, fears, and all. This takes immense courage because vulnerability comes with no guarantees. When we open ourselves to others, we risk rejection, criticism, and even failure. But it's in that very risk that we find growth, connection, and authenticity. Think about the times in your life when you felt truly alive or deeply connected to someone. Were those moments born out of perfection or invulnerability? No, they likely came from times when you shared your fears, dreams, or imperfections. Vulnerability creates a bridge between people. It is the foundation of trust and the birthplace of empathy. When we are vulnerable, we invite others to do the same, fostering relationships that are real, honest, and meaningful. Vulnerability is not just emotional, it's also tied to creativity, innovation, and leadership. Every breakthrough idea or artistic expression comes from someone daring to put themselves out there, knowing that it might fail. Leaders who embrace vulnerability inspire their teams, not by pretending to have all the answers, but by admitting their uncertainties and inviting collaboration. Vulnerability doesn't undermine authority, it enhances it by making leaders relatable and approachable. Yet society often tells us to toughen up or never let them see you sweat. We're taught to armor up, to shield ourselves from the world's judgment. But what happens when we build walls around our hearts? We may feel safe, but we also become isolated. We miss out on the joy of connection and the opportunity for growth that comes from being truly seen. Embracing vulnerability doesn't mean oversharing or disregarding boundaries. It means having the courage to show up as your authentic self, even when the outcome is uncertain. It's saying, this is who I am and I'm willing to be seen. It's having the courage to ask for help, to admit when we're struggling, and to say, I don't know. Vulnerability also requires self-compassion. When we're kind to ourselves, we create a safe space within to be honest about our feelings and experiences. This self-acceptance radiates outward, allowing us to face life's challenges with resilience and grace. In the words of Brene Brown, vulnerability is not winning or losing, it's having the courage to show up when you can't control the outcome. It's about being brave enough to step into the arena of life, knowing that you might fall, but also knowing that every fall teaches you how to rise stronger. Ultimately, vulnerability is strength because it allows us to live fully. It empowers us to take risks, form meaningful connections, and grow in ways we never imagined. It's not a liability, it's our superpower. When we embrace vulnerability, we unlock the potential to lead richer, more fulfilling lives. So let's stop equating vulnerability with fragility and start seeing it for what it truly is, the core of courage, creativity, and connection. In vulnerability, we find the strength to face the world with open hearts and unwavering authenticity. Belonging is a fundamental human need. From the moment we are born, we seek connection. We are hardwired to form bonds, to be seen, and to feel like we are part of something larger than ourselves. But true belonging is more than just fitting in or being accepted. It's about being valued for who we are, our true, authentic selves. The power of belonging is transformative because it touches the deepest parts of our humanity. It shapes how we see ourselves, how we interact with others, and how we navigate the world. Yet so often, our longing for belonging leads us to compromise our authenticity. We change how we speak, how we dress, or what we believe just to feel accepted. But this isn't true belonging, it's fitting in a shallow substitute that leaves us feeling disconnected and unseen. True belonging starts with self-acceptance. It requires us to embrace who we are, imperfections and all, and to stand firm in our values. As Brene Brown says, true belonging doesn't require you to change who you are, it requires you to be who you are. This is the paradox of belonging. The more we show up as our authentic selves, the stronger our connections become. When we experience true belonging, it provides us with a sense of grounding and security. It allows us to weather life's storms with resilience because we know we're not alone. We can be vulnerable, take risks, and face challenges because we have a community that supports and uplifts us. Belonging fosters trust, empathy, and a shared sense of purpose. The power of belonging is not just personal, it's also collective. In workplaces, schools, and communities, fostering belonging can transform cultures. When people feel like they belong, they're more likely to contribute their ideas, collaborate effectively, and show up fully. A sense of belonging drives creativity, innovation, and engagement. It breaks down barriers, fosters inclusion, and creates spaces where everyone feels valued. But true belonging requires courage. It demands that we step out of our comfort zones and be vulnerable. It challenges us to embrace others' differences while staying rooted in our own truth. In a world that often encourages division and conformity, cultivating belonging is a radical act. Belonging also has the power to heal. Many of us carry wounds from feeling excluded or unseen, whether it's from childhood experiences, societal biases, or personal relationships. True belonging offers a balm for these wounds. It tells us that we are enough just as we are, that we are worthy of love and connection. Yet belonging doesn't mean we will never face rejection or conflict. In fact, the path to true belonging often includes moments of discomfort. Standing in our truth may sometimes isolate us from those who cannot accept us for who we are. But this is where the power of belonging shines most brightly. When we belong to ourselves first, we can face rejection without losing our sense of worth. The beauty of belonging is that it's reciprocal. When we create spaces where others feel they belong, we deepen our own sense of connection. By practicing empathy, listening without judgment, and celebrating diversity, we build communities that thrive on mutual respect and understanding. In the end, the power of belonging is about connection, not just to others, but also to ourselves. It's about finding the courage to be seen, the resilience to stay true to who we are, and the empathy to welcome others as they are. True belonging is not a destination, it's a practice. It's something we cultivate every day through our actions, our words, and our choices. When we embrace the power of belonging, we create a world where everyone has a place. And in doing so, we find our own. Failure, it's a word that strikes fear into many of us. From a young age, we're taught to avoid it, to strive for perfection, and to equate success with worthiness. Yet, failure is not the enemy. It is an essential, inevitable, and transformative part of growth. To dare to fail is to dare to live fully, to embrace the unknown, and to step boldly into the arena of life. Why do we fear failure so much? For many, it's tied to the fear of judgment, what others will think if we don't succeed. It's also tied to our own inner critic, that relentless voice telling us we're not good enough if we fall short. But what if we reframe failure? What if, instead of seeing it as a reflection of our inadequacy, we see it as a stepping stone to something greater? Every success story you've ever heard includes moments of failure. Innovators, artists, leaders, and visionaries all share one thing in common: they dared to fail. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His persistence led to the invention of the light bulb, a testament to the power of resilience. Failure is a teacher. It reveals where we need to grow, what needs to change, and how we can improve. It forces us to confront our limitations and find creative solutions. Without failure, there is no innovation, no discovery, and no progress. The greatest achievements often come after the greatest setbacks. To dare to fail is to embrace vulnerability. It's acknowledging that the outcome is uncertain, yet choosing to take the risk anyway. It's applying for the job, even if you're not sure you'll get it. It's starting the business, even if there's a chance it might not succeed. It's putting your art, your ideas, or your heart out into the world, knowing that rejection is a possibility. Failure also builds resilience. Each time we fail and get back up, we become stronger, we learn to adapt, to persevere, and to trust our ability to overcome challenges. Resilience is not something we're born with, it's something we develop through experience, especially through failure. But daring to fail doesn't mean recklessness. It's not about making careless decisions or setting yourself up for unnecessary hardship. It's about calculated risks, informed choices, and the courage to try despite the possibility of falling short. One of the greatest gifts of daring to fail is the freedom it brings. When we stop fearing failure, we free ourselves from the paralysis of perfectionism. We give ourselves permission to experiment, to learn, and to grow. We realize that our worth is not tied to our successes or failures, but to the effort we put in and the lessons we take away. Daring to fail also inspires others. When we see someone else take a risk, fall, and rise again, it gives us the courage to do the same. It reminds us that failure is not the end, it's part of the journey. Leaders who are open about their failures create cultures of trust and innovation, where others feel safe to take risks and share ideas. Of course, failure is not easy. It can be painful, disappointing, and humbling. But those feelings are temporary, and the growth that comes from failure is lasting. Each failure is a chapter in the story of your life, and every chapter teaches you something valuable. So how do we dare to fail? We start by shifting our mindset. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" ask, "What if I never try?" Remind yourself that failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of it. Surround yourself with people who encourage and support you, and remember to extend that same support to yourself. Take small risks every day to build your courage. Celebrate the effort, not just the outcome. Reflect on your failures, learn from them, and then let them go. Each step you take, even if it feels like a misstep, is bringing you closer to where you're meant to be. In the words of Brene Brown, "If you're not in the arena getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback. Failure is proof that you're in the arena, living, trying, and daring greatly." Dare to fail because it means you dare to try. Dare to fail because it means you're growing. Dare to fail because ultimately failure is not the end, it's the beginning of something new, something bold, and something uniquely yours. Owning your story is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. It's about embracing your past, acknowledging your present, and taking full responsibility for the narrative of your life. Too often, we allow the world, others, or even our past mistakes to dictate who we are and how we define ourselves. We wear labels placed on us by society, by our families, or by experiences we may not have even chosen. But to own your story is to step into the driver's seat of your life and to take control of your narrative. At the heart of owning your story is vulnerability. It requires the courage to confront parts of yourself that may be uncomfortable, painful, or difficult to accept. It's not about erasing or denying your flaws, mistakes, or struggles. It's about accepting them as integral parts of who you are. These experiences, both the triumphant and the challenging, shape the person you have become. When you own your story, you stop hiding the parts of yourself that you think are unworthy or unlovable. You stop letting shame dictate your actions. Instead, you allow yourself to stand in the fullness of your truth. The journey to owning your story often starts with letting go of the need for validation from others. When we seek constant approval or try to live up to others' expectations, we lose sight of who we truly are. We begin to filter our experiences and decisions through someone else's lens, which can leave us disconnected from our own authentic selves. Owning your story means you stop measuring your worth by someone else's yardstick. It's a refusal to let external judgments shape your self-esteem. A crucial part of owning your story is self-compassion. We all have moments we wish we could take back or things we wish we hadn't done. Regret is natural, but it doesn't have to define you. When you own your story, you treat yourself with kindness and understanding. You recognize that mistakes are part of the human experience. Every misstep, every setback, every failure is an opportunity for growth. Instead of being consumed by guilt or shame, you give yourself the grace to learn and move forward. Owning your story is also about reclaiming your power. For many, the stories we carry, whether they stem from childhood, relationships, or work experiences, can make us feel small, helpless, or unworthy. These stories often shape our behaviors, decisions, and how we show up in the world. But when we choose to own our story, we take back the power that was once given away. We stop letting the narratives of the past control our present and future. We rewrite the script and choose the role we want to play. Owning your story means confronting the pain you carry, but it also means celebrating the victories, however small they may seem. Every hardship you faced has contributed to your strength. Every challenge has added depth to your resilience. By acknowledging these parts of your story, you honor your journey and the person you become. The good and the bad both are integral to the whole. It's important to remember that owning your story doesn't mean you need to share everything with everyone. Not every chapter is meant to be public, and some parts of your story are meant to remain personal. It's about owning your narrative for yourself first, regardless of whether others see it or understand it. You are the author of your life, and you have the right to write, edit, and revise your story as you see fit. When you own your story, you also give others the permission to own theirs. By being open, authentic, and unapologetic about who you are, you create space for others to do the same. In a world where so many are burdened by shame, judgment, and fear, owning your story is a radical act of self-love and self-respect. It shows that you can be both vulnerable and powerful, both imperfect and whole. Often, the act of owning your story involves letting go of old narratives. These might be stories you've inherited from others or stories you've told yourself over the years. Maybe you've been taught to believe that you're not good enough, not capable enough, or not deserving of success or happiness. Owning your story means challenging these limiting beliefs and replacing them with the truth of who you are. It's about identifying the false narratives that have been keeping you stuck and rewriting them with your own voice. There is also power in forgiveness when it comes to owning your story. This doesn't necessarily mean forgiving others or even letting go of past injustices. It often means forgiving yourself for the decisions you made, for the mistakes you made, or for the ways you've held yourself back. Holding onto past guilt or resentment only keeps you tethered to a version of your story that no longer serves you. When you release this burden, you free yourself to move forward with greater clarity and purpose. To own your story is to fully embrace the reality of your life as it is, without embellishment or denial. It's accepting that your life may not look like anyone else's. And that's okay. It's the radical act of declaring that you are enough, exactly as you are. You don't need to fit into anyone else's mold or adhere to their expectations. Your story is yours alone. In conclusion, owning your story is the ultimate act of self-empowerment. It means embracing every chapter, both the light and the dark, and recognizing that each part of your journey contributes to who you are today. When you stop hiding behind masks and start living authentically, you step into your full potential. Owning your story isn't about perfection, it's about acceptance, self-compassion, and courage. By taking responsibility for your narrative, you reclaim your power and your peace. You stop allowing the past to define you and start creating the future you desire, not dictated by others' expectations, but by your own truth. It's a practice of self-love, resilience, and authenticity that invites others to do the same. When you own your story, you give yourself the freedom to live fully and unapologetically. You are enough just as you are, and your story is worth telling.